Alright, let's talk about something everyone experiences but nobody really understands: sexual desire. And before you click away thinking this is going to be awkward, stay with me, because the science behind this is absolutely fascinating. Here's a question: have you ever wondered why your partner seems to want intimacy at the weirdest times? Or why sometimes you're completely in sync, and other times it's like you're speaking different languages? Well, buckle up, because we are about to dive into the biological roller coaster that is human desire. Let's start with something you've probably noticed. Men wake up ready to conquer the world, or at least, certain parts of them are ready. This isn't just a coincidence or some running joke. Testosterone levels in men peaked around 25 to 50% higher in the morning compared to the evening. It's like their bodies got a shot of espresso while they were sleeping. This hormonal surge happens whether they're thinking about anything remotely romantic or just wondering what's for breakfast. Women, on the other hand, don't have this dramatic daily testosterone swing. Their desire doesn't follow the sunrise and sunset. Instead, it follows a much longer, more complex rhythms that spans roughly 28 days. And here's where it gets interesting. Imagine if your appetite for pizza changed dramatically depending on where the moon was in its cycle. Sounds crazy, right? But that's essentially what happens with female desire. During ovulation, that narrow window in the middle of the cycle, something magical happens. Estrogen peaks, energy increases, the skin literally glows more, and suddenly that person who was just a coworker becomes interesting. Studies using thermal imaging have shown that women's body temperature subtly rises during this phase. Their sense of smell sharpens, they can literally detect pheromones better. Some researchers believe women unconsciously dress more attractively during this window. It's like biology turned up the dimmer switch without asking permission. But then, a week before menstruation, things get complicated. Some women experience a second surge in desire. Maybe it's the body's last-ditch attempt to convince them to procreate. Others feel like someone unplugged their libido entirely, replaced by cravings for chocolate and the urge to yell at inanimate objects. The same woman can experience both patterns at different times in her life. Wild, right? Now, here's where male and female brains diverge like two highways going to completely different cities. Men have what scientists call a visual dominant arousal pathway. Show a man an attractive image, and his brain's reward center, the nucleus accumbens, lights up like a Christmas tree on an MRI scan. It's fast, it's efficient, and it doesn't need much context. Caveman brain sees attractive person. Caveman brain says yes please, and the body responds within seconds. It's not shallow, it's just a really efficient systems that evolved over millions of years. Women's brains, completely different stories. When women view the same images, sure, the visual cortex activates, but then something else happens. The prefrontal cortex kicks in, that's the part responsible for evaluation and judgment. Then the UNC activates, that's processing emotional significance. It's like the brain is running a full background check before deciding whether to feel desired. Is this person safe? Do I trust them? What's my stress level right now? Did he do the dishes like he promised? Am I still mad about that thing from Tuesday? One study found that women's brain activity during arousal involved 4 times as many regions as men's. It's not that women overthink desire, it's that their brains are wired to integrate way more information before giving the green light. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Touch works completely differently for men and women when it comes to arousal. For men, physical touch can create desire almost instantly. A hand on the shoulder, a kiss, even an accidental brush against someone attractive can flip that switch we talked about. The touch sends signals to the brain sends signals south, and suddenly desire exists where there was none before. It's like striking a match, one friction point and boom, fire. For women, it's usually the reverse. Desire has to exist first before touch feels arousing. If she's not already in that headspace, the same touch that might work on Thursday feels annoying or uncomfortable on Monday. It's not that she's playing hard to get or being difficult, her nervous system literally processes touch differently depending on her mental and emotional state. Researchers call this context-dependent arousal, and it explains so many misunderstandings in relationships. He initiates touch hoping it'll create desire. She needs desire first before touch feels good. Both people are confused why the other person isn't responding right. Let's talk about stress, because this is where things get really interesting. When men are stressed, their bodies release cortisol and adrenaline. For some men, physical intimacy becomes a way to regulate these stress hormones. It's like their body knows that orgasm releases oxytocin and dopamine, which counteract stress. So ironically, some men want intimacy more when they're stressed. It's self-medication, basically. Women under stress? The complete opposite. When cortisol floods a woman's system, it actively suppresses the hormones associated with desire. Her body essentially says, "We are in survival mode right now. Reproduction can wait." If she's worried about work, dealing with family drama, or mentally juggling 17 tasks, her brain literally cannot spare the bandwidth for desire. It's not personal, it's physiological. One researcher described it perfectly. For men, sex can be a stress reliever. For women, stress has to be relieved before sex becomes possible. Here's something most people don't realize. Men often mistake their body's physical responses for desire. And women often don't recognize desire even when it's there. Men can experience erections during REM sleep, from vibrations on a bus, or just from tight jeans. These are physiological responses that don't necessarily mean desire is present. But because the physical response is so obvious and visible, men often interpret it as "I must be turned on." Sometimes they are, sometimes they are not. But the body is giving very clear signals either way. Women experience something called arousal non-concordance. Her body might be responding physiologically, increased blood flow, lubrication, but she might not feel desired mentally. Or the reverse, she feels intense desire mentally, but her body hasn't caught up yet. The mind-body connection isn't automatic for women the way it often is for men. She needs both channels to sync up, which takes time and the right conditions. This creates a frustrating situation. He thinks, "Your body is responding, so you must be into this." She thinks, "My body might be responding, but my mind isn't there yet." Both people are confused. Here's where we get to the heart of the matter, the role of emotional connection. For many men, physical intimacy can create emotional closeness. It's like the act itself opens up their ability to be vulnerable and connected. They feel closer to their partner afterwards, more willing to talk, more emotionally available. So when men initiate physically, they are often seeking emotional connection through physical means. For many women, emotional closeness creates the desire for physical intimacy. They need to feel seen, heard, appreciated, and connected before their body even considers responding. When women pull away from physical advances, they're not rejecting their partner, they're waiting for the emotional intimacy that makes physical intimacy feel safe and desirable. Imagine two people trying to build a fire together. He's striking matches, thinking the sparks will create warmth. She's gathering kindling and arranging logs, thinking the preparation will create the conditions for fire. Both are right. Both are necessary. But if they don't understand each other's approach, they'll both end up frustrated and cold. Now, here's the part that makes all of this even more interesting. Everything I just described is a trend, not a rule. There are absolutely women whose desire works like that light switch visual, immediate, independent of context. There are absolutely men who need emotional safety, connection, and the perfect atmosphere before they feel any stirring of desire. Gender explains maybe 30 to 40% of the variation in human sexuality. The other 60 to 70%? That's individual personality, past experiences, current life circumstances, stress levels, medications, sleep quality, how much coffee you had today. I've met women who have higher testosterone levels naturally and experience desire very similarly to the typical male pattern. I've met men with more sensitive nervous systems who need everything to be just right emotionally before their bodies respond. The gender binary isn't lying to us, but it's also not telling the complete truth. So where does this leave us? Understanding these patterns isn't about boxing people into stereotypes. It's about recognizing that your partner's desire might operate on a completely different system than yours. And that's okay. That's not a bug, it's a feature of human diversity. If you're with someone whose desire works differently than yours, it doesn't mean one of you is broken or wrong. It means you need to learn each other's language. He might need to understand that her desire needs time, context, and emotional temperature to build. She might need to understand that his quick trigger arousal isn't shallow, it's just running on a different operating system. The couples who figured this out, they stop waiting for their partner to desire the way they desire. They start asking questions. What helps you feel safe? What gets you in that headspace? What kills the mood for you? When do you feel most connected to me? Because at the end of the day, we're all just humans trying to connect with other humans. We are running different software, sure, but we're all seeking the same thing: to be wanted, to be understood, and to experience pleasure with someone who actually gets us. And honestly, once you understand how your partner's desire actually works, not how you think it should work, everything gets so much easier and way more interesting. So the next time you and your partner seem to be on completely different pages, remember, you are not incompatible, you're just tuned to different frequencies. And learning to hear each other's signals, that's where the real magic happens.